it's either we're one or we're not. And just before we went into the lodge, is the one guy dragged me aside and says, "I got something for you." And it's like my heart already started racing. I'm going like, "What the hell?" I had no idea, right? And that's the day that he handed me the pipe. It was made by him, and actually his son made it, and but it was all their collective decision to do that. And that's when they told me it took them weeks and weeks to come to that decision, because it was not an easy decision for them to make. So being of the belief that we are of one mind, one body, one spirit, one soul,
Mhm.
then the division of color and race and money and political views and all of that has to go away to a certain degree. In that one, we have to stop war, share resources on every level, and not allow runaway hoarding of resources by a certain few people and stuff like that. So, and that's to me, I would guess, my take on what the eighth fire is. In our immediate space around us, we have to redefine what fairness is, far more inclusive than anything we've even imagined yet. They try to invoke laws to make things fair, and that won't change anyone's mind. You can't legislate fairness, you can't legislate equality, you can't legislate any of that stuff. It's always comes down to the inside job, like something you have to want, or it shows up in your life. And to me, that's the always the connection with spirit that does that. That most people have points in their life where they start questioning stuff, and it's those that will go the extra nine yards out of 10 to find out really why they're questioning it, that will actually get answers. But excuse me, it's interesting because the answers for me, in my experience, have always come just slightly outside of my understanding. So I have to chase a little bit more. I have to work a little harder. And then when I think I grasp some truth, my hand is always empty. 100% of the time, my hand is empty. So, when I see people saying, "Oh, well, I've read this book, or I saw this show, or I talked to this person and they have the truth." It's like, well, I don't think so. And I'll never come from the place like I've got something figured out, because I know that really the truth of it is I only have things that I have yet to work on. That's all I have. That's all my list. It's not about anything that I figured out, got down pat. It's always, how do I redefine that? How do I sharpen the pencil over and over and over and over again? And just being in love with that process. I was born ready to do this. It just took me a long time to kind of sort it out in my mind, and weed out some thoughts and weed out stuff, and learn on the process and all that stuff to get to this point. So, but I was born, and all I had to do was start remembering. So I personally don't think that's the case for every person here, because I don't know if they've had enough lifetimes to acquire that sort of knowledge to find that. Um, but I also believe at this point in time, there are literally thousands of people like me right now that are just doing a normal life and struggling to fit into that and have lots of questions. And, if I had to kind of put out what my goal would be, it'd be to activate every single one of those people as fast as I possibly can. Because to light all those people, then would just light the world on fire right there. Because those people actually just like you've seen with the healing work and stuff like that, it can spread pretty fast and do some neat stuff. And and if we could have thousands of people just lighting that fire, it would be having that end result of just like how that lady that shared with us the other night, when she was saying about, like, she goes, everything is just so good, and she couldn't even put a word on it. She could not even put a word on it, but like it just transformed her, and like that can last for weeks. So like thousands of people doing that to people, then there's no more fear mongering. They can do all the false news on the news every night, and people will just be looking at it going, whatever. When someone gets a little taste of that fire inside them, and their desire to either be normal or else find a way to keep the fire alive is the question. That's the first one, right? And excuse me. And then at that point, then they will start looking. It's like if you want to go fishing, you don't go to the desert. Like, and if you want to see a camel, you don't go swim underwater. Like, so most people don't know where to even start looking when it comes to that. And that's why that first spark is like, it's almost the most important one. You know what I mean? And because you just think literally of trying to start a fire. If you try to start a fire, and you tried, you see a little flame, it goes out. You tried, you see a little flame, it goes out. After a while, like, you don't really want to try anymore. Like, it gets really difficult to keep trying, right? And that's why, to be able to have someone really light up is critical. It's just super, super critical. So, and I think that's probably what happens most of the time with the healing work that I do. If I had to kind of try to define it, which I really don't know how to define it, because it's well beyond my imagination what goes on sometimes.